ready? What I try to do with my presentation is, many of you guys are advanced users, so what I'm trying to do is pick through in the hundreds of voicemails that I leave that are unreturned and say, well, what do I talk about to myself? So I'm going to pick through the things that hopefully are interesting to you. So some of you guys may not know, I was a big fan when I was a little kid of wrestling. And my favorite wrestler was Ric Flair. Woo! So, if you learn something new, just to keep me entertained, give me a woo, okay? Now, if it's something really basic, you might get called out. So let's make sure, save the woos for the good stuff, and I promise you, I have one thing in here you've never seen before. All right, so we're gonna start off really slow. Hopefully you don't woo on these. So the first thing is info@RunSignup. So if you meet Val, Kevin Lai, Andrew Sigwart, there's other people on the team as well that support that. They're answering a lot of your participants' questions, so say thank you to them. Also, if you need help on the weekends or evening support, something comes up, shoot an email to them. They're fantastic. They'll get back to you, or escalate it to someone that can help you. So the next thing is in your dashboard. The number one thing when we're trying to teach people brand new to the platform, there's a menu search. So there's two search bars when you're in your race dashboard. One is in the top right-hand corner. That's the ability to search for participants. The other's in the top left-hand corner. This allows you to quickly find something. Let's say you're trying to find coupons. You just type it in. This is a good thing to remember. If you think that we know where everything is in the system, we absolutely do not. We just use the search and find it just like you guys do. So year-over-year comparison. So there's another joke in here. How many people know that this year's a leap year? Please raise your hands. All right, not everybody knows this. So we had someone very upset that reached out to Matt Sinclair saying, hey, your system's broken. And Matt was very worried. And turns out this year's a leap year, and they had their price ending on February 28th and the next price adjustment starting on March 1st. So it was continually giving them the error, you cannot save this. Year-over-year comparisons, how does that relate? Leap years and days remaining are actually really important because we have one extra day. Or if Easter moves around, Thanksgiving moves around, that's why the days remaining is super important, and that's why it has to be done that way. So you can quickly see, how your race is doing compared to last year. So race insights, Bob touched on this a little bit earlier. We're trying to make a big push for this because more and more of you are using us as your race website. And one of the most important things you can start to see is where your traffic is starting to come from. So when you go into the dashboard, it's going to immediately show you over the past 7 days, where's your traffic, where's your sales, how's it looking. One of the things that we try to teach people is you can actually click on where it says referral and start seeing where your registrations are coming from. We're also seeing more customers using our custom source tracking. That's going to show up in your dashboard as well. So if you do a Facebook post with a custom source tracking link, that's going to show up in here as well. So we're trying to get more Google Analytics-ish look and feel to it with the intelligence that, you don't have to do anything special for this to show up. So we're going into registration and reporting now. We've had a ton of interest in multi-race registration. There's different ways to do multi-race registration. If you're wondering the best way to do it, stop by our demo room. The first report I got was tons of you guys stopped by. We really appreciate that because it's a great opportunity for us to hopefully answer some of your more technical questions. So there's two types of multi-races. One is, truly, races over several different months. And then the other is, some of you may even participated in the Disney Marathon where they have a goofy challenge or something like that. Those are the two different types of multi-events that we support. So to figure out which one is the best one for you, definitely talk to us. But the best part about the multi-race bundle, and when you're setting this up, is the ability to automatically have that participant data drop into each individual race. So that's the biggest key feature of that. And the other is that, as you can see, we've got these nice call to actions that says all 4 races, trying to encourage people to potentially, upgrade their buy and maybe spend a little bit more money. So importing past participants. This is a question that we tend to get with new customers quite a bit. So we're trying to encourage customers that have been with us for a while, and maybe you didn't have that data from 2 years ago. Generally speaking, my rule of thumb is any data older than 3 years from a marketing standpoint, it loses quite a bit of value. But from a historical standpoint, there's differences. Obviously results, if your race has been around, 30, 40, 50 years, the results have a different value than the participant data. But we do support the ability for you to go back in. So if you go into participants and then import, we have the ability for you to actually load in a CSV spreadsheet so you can keep all your data in one place. So miscellaneous settings. So this is one that is not as popular as it used to be. The number one thing that I wanted to point out with miscellaneous settings that is important on here is that our default wording in our system is race. You can actually change that wording. So if you're doing a dog jog or something like that, you could actually change that wording. The other thing that's really important is that, yes, we're RunSignup. We also own bike sign up, tri sign up, adventure sign up, paddle sign up, ski sign up, GiveSignup. Thanks, Allison. So we own a bunch of different domains. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to set up your race there. But what it allows you to do is, if you're doing a bike race, you can set it up on RunSignup like you always do, but you can change the URL just to bike sign up or tri sign up. Because some athletes are like, hey, why am I signing up for a triathlon on RunSignup? So that's something else that's important to remember that's somewhat related to miscellaneous settings. So private events. This is one of the things that we run into is, the corner cases. So a corner case is like, I need a special hidden place for people to register, and I want to have like a URL that I could send to this group. There's other options as well, which is reserved entries, where you could send out a specific URL or a multi-use URL. The private event codes allows you to build a special URL with this kind of private event code on it, and then share that with a special group of people to be able to register but not have it publicly showing. So conditional custom questions, there's two pieces I want to point out on that. So conditional custom questions is probably something that people need a small amount of time. So this is like your if-then questions. If I answer yes, or in this dropdown, then show this question. Again, it's not needed a lot, but we support two different types of conditional questions. One is very simple and it's very obvious. You can check just specific events. So you can say, hey, I only want this question to show for specific events. Or when you're on the custom question page, there's question logic. And so that is where you can set up your conditional questions. So one of the things that I forgot to mention in the beginning, and I told Bob I was going to disappoint somebody, now I just remembered, is I don't want you guys to feel pressured like you need to take notes on all of this. We're going to put this out in I think 3 or 4 blogs, because this is kind of the stuff that tends to kind of get lost in all of our busyness. So we want you to put that out there. So the other thing is that if you want to become like one of Bob's better friends, subscribe to the blog. There's only like 14 people that subscribe to the blog right now, so you guys would drastically increase that. And Marlies could then drop out and he wouldn't even notice. So event level confirmation emails. This is, again, kind of getting into the weeds, but when you're dealing with more high-end events, so if you have, say, an ultra, or you have, say, a special event, you can go into the confirmation email for the event level. And what that allows you to do is when that person gets the confirmation email, they're getting slightly different instructions along with your standard confirmation email. So if there's like a pre-race meeting, especially for races that are more dangerous, so think triathlons with like kind of more difficult open water swims and things like that, where you're going over, hey, lifeguards are stationed here, we've got jet boats out here, blah, blah, blah. You're really going over things. This is where you can kind of plug in stuff. You also could potentially put in more fun things, but generally I think of it as like, hey, I've got special instructions I want to share with my athletes. That's only if you sign up for this particular event. So financial summary. One of the dirty secrets about our business, which is a good thing we have a CFO and we fired Bob from doing that, is we process a lot of money. We're in the range of, I think, $280 million. And that's a lot of money. And so one of the things that we do is pay people on time. And part of what we provide is a financial summary. And in that financial summary, there's different layers that you can dig into. And this is something that we are unfortunately going to put Tom on to make this better, is we're displaying to you how much money we've brought in. And then at the basics level, you can kind of see, how much you've done in coupons and things like that. The other thing that's really important for you to know is that on this screen, you can see it says transactions and then payments. You actually, when you click on that payments, there's a variety of reports that are automatically generated. The most detailed one has a great name, Detailed Payment Report. And it's just kind of, when you're going through that, if you have a financial person related to your race, you can share that with them, and that's going to give them a lot of detail. The most important thing to know is that we are reconciling on transactions. So we have one issue that has come up to me that no one has ever brought up to me before, is we actually don't have like a report that says, hey, let's say I exchanged my bib with Allison for free. So that's one of the things that I'm going to talk to Tom about, is adding in this kind of free transactions, or quote unquote transactions that happen. Because if I'm a financial person in an organization, I want to know about these additional free incidents as well. So event insurance. So this is something that we've had for a while, but I wanted to bring it in here because Scott, are you here? Can you raise your hand? So Scott Sutter's here as well. So we have two pieces here. One is Allianz, which is your participant insurance. This is the ability for your participants to buy what I call the equivalent of travel insurance. So they can buy that and insure their registration. That generally only makes sense for the higher end events, where people are spending, the number that seems to be the magic number is around $60. If your entry is $60 or greater, you can turn that on. The other is Race Insure, which is Scott is here. With a lot of races, there's been some high profile cancellations. So Scott can have conversations with you about actually insuring your race and having a policy in place if there were to be some sort of natural disaster that would involve having to cancel the race. You would have funds available to actually get that back to your participants. Scott is a commercial insurance broker as well. So if you're a timer or an event management company, you can just have a general insurance discussion with him. And so I'm super thankful that you came, Scott, because I don't know anything about it. So appreciate you doing that. So volunteers, we actually, if you're super interested in volunteers, we have a breakout session that's going to be led by Whitney. And so she's going to go over in detail volunteers. I bring this up because there's not enough people using this. And one of the other things is that in 2020, we're going to be releasing a volunteer check-in app. So you'd actually be able to kind of segment that out and then have your list of volunteers and be able to check them in just like our normal check-in app. Now, my personal favorite part about volunteers is we have a color-coded report in the summary. So when you have volunteers start signing up, you'll have, red, yellow, and green. So it just quickly visualizes, how are you doing on your volunteers. So I personally like that the best. We also have a note on here. If you're looking for new ways to get volunteers, we've had several customers indicate success using meetup.com to find new volunteers. All right, so CRM. We also are going to have a breakout on CRM. So if this is something that's super interesting to you, Eric Cohn from our team is going to be leading. There's a lot of new capabilities that have come out of the CRM. There's also more coming in 2020. Probably the most important thing that you can learn how to do, and Eric, are you going to go over the loyalty, like building the loyalty list like you were telling me about? Okay, so one of the things that is a challenge for all of us is trying to build out those loyalty lists. So, trying to figure out your 2 and 3 and 4 time participants and things like that. So Eric's going to be going over that in his presentation. We've added some capabilities now. And the coolest thing about this is they're dynamic, meaning like if more people register, this list is kind of getting updated as you continue to get it. So you can go in and you can build specific promotions to these lists. We also support the ability to export this to MailChimp or Facebook custom audiences. So you can do very, very targeted promotions. Kind of my favorite example promotion would be if you're trying to do a Mother's Day promotion, you can target not only geography, but also you can target your women demographic. And then if you wanted to bracket that within age as well, so you can do a very, very targeted promotion. So race websites, this is something for most of you, we feel like we have a really, really good product here and we want more of you to use our race website. It's free. Please use it because the cracks are starting to form in people using stuff like Wix or WordPress. They're great companies. They obviously do, quite a bit of business. But for people like yourself, you need to make sure that you're not adding burden to your plate that could be avoided. So we want to encourage you to keep digging into our race websites because we can manage your security. We can manage Bob was mentioning the California Privacy Acts. We're PCI compliant. Like all this stuff, if you're running your own website, technically that falls on you. Whereas if you're using ours, that falls on us. So one of the most important things you can do is obviously your branding. If you want to take a look at one, Bob's hometown run is the Scott Coffee Run. So you can go in and map your domain. And so you can map multiple domains as well. So if he owned a different version of Scott Coffee Run, you could map that as well. So we've actually had, people request that. So don't worry about that. The other thing that's important is that if you want to keep your main website, but then let us maybe do more of your selling or use some of our marketing features, you can map what's called a subdomain. So a subdomain would be run.scottcoffeerun or race.scottcoffeerun. That is particularly important to nonprofits who want to kind of segment out their event away from their main brand, but still they want to have the branding. So if you have questions about that, definitely grab some of the account management team and ask them about that. But I haven't gotten an account recently, but I think it was around 800 websites the last time I heard. Bob, did you look at that? Yeah. So 800 right now. I'd be super happy if next year was 2,000 because I think that's going to take a lot of burden off of you guys' plates. So cover pages. If you want an icebreaker and you're talking to somebody new, if they really do know a fair amount about cover pages, we are seeing more and more people using cover pages in interesting ways. So ask them if you can see their RunSignup page and if they're using the cover page. So one of the coolest things that we've had that kind of marks a box that's difficult to do is that we've recently added the ability to have individual and team fundraisers show up right on your homepage of a cover page. So that makes nonprofits extremely happy. So if you have customers that are nonprofits that are utilizing a different site, this is a big selling feature for them because it's dynamic, right? I get a donation, it automatically shows up. I'm on the fundraiser list. And we're seeing more and more creativity with the pages. Corey, are you here from Race Awesome? Talk to Corey as well. He's doing a great job, and Corey's never met any of you guys, so be nice to Corey, right? So event display options. This is used by a lot of our larger clients, and this is something that kind of goes into the aesthetics. Is what are you trying to communicate to a participant in a very small number of words? So you can see, prizes awarded, walking courses, runner and walkers. Now, the other thing that you can do, and I've seen this, is VIP packages. So if you have VIP packages, that allows you to maybe show what's included, like a badge or a hoodie, etc. You can kind of show them the value that you're providing. And this really helps when you're trying to get to the nitty gritty of like the person spends on average $30 and you're trying to increase that. Well, how can you do that? Like when they are at the point of sale, and that's what we are doing now. We are at the point of sale. Why would they spend $45 when they could buy it for $30? You have to make a compelling offer, and that's what these event display options allow you to do. So if your race seems to be bogged down with lots and lots of participant questions, and the example we used here is the Crescent City Classic, they have a ton of participants and they get a lot of questions. So what they did is they actually went in and added some FAQs. One of the ways you can leverage RunSignup is we have a tremendous amount of how-to documentation. So make sure if you have the common questions that RunSignup has a how-to for, just search in our how-to section and add that as an FAQ or link to it so participants could, hopefully self-serve themselves, because there's obviously a limit to how much time you guys can spend, answering participants' emails and questions. So hopefully you can leverage some of our documentation. So marketing, Allison buried the lead here for me. So this is the thing that I'm most excited about, primarily because it was my idea, so you have to like your idea the best. I also want to point out, I have not heard a single woo. Nobody is very excited. If we can't get the energy up, there might be push-ups involved, There we go. See, like the people who have done push-ups with me are going to start doing woos now. All right. So very specifically, we have a new tool. It's called Email Capture. It came out on Friday afternoon. So Natalie turned this on, and last I heard, which was Sunday afternoon, she had captured 29 email addresses since Friday when she turned it on, roughly 4 or 5 o'clock East Coast time. So what happens is that, and I'm going to give you the high-level overview because I kind of recognize where we had this little gap, is that race directors are buying ads or doing some sort of promotion, and if someone brand new comes across your page, never heard of your race before, gets shared by a friend, see an ad, whatever, they click on their page, they come to a RunSignup page, and they're not ready to buy today because they're not sure if their daughter's soccer game happens on the same day as this, or if they have the ability to come to your race. But they've heard good things about it, they're interested. So what can they do? You're like, hey, why don't you buy right now? Again, I've got reasons why I can't do it today. So what we're doing is with our email capture form, and there's some options in terms of what kind of language you can put on there, and whether it's a slider or an abandoned pop-up. So an abandoned pop-up is if they try to X out of the screen, we're going to try to capture their email. Is we're trying to give you a way to say, hey, you're interested, but you're just not ready to buy today. Will you give us your email address? So this is huge because this is a lead generation tool for you guys. So again, a lot of you guys are buying ads, but there's this no intermediary step where you can say, oh, I'm not sure if I want to do it. So we're going to help you build up your email list because there's traffic coming to your page right now, but there's no way to say, hey, I'm interested, but not today. So we're doing this. Now, this is step 1. We've got step 2 coming. And step 2 is going to be, we're actually going to automate the email using our automated email tool to say, hey, thanks for your interest. Here's more information about your race. And this is where you guys need to come in and add a little creativity to say, what is so great about your race, why someone would want to register. And I think we're going to probably make it like the incomplete registration emails where you'll be able to set a little drip campaign, dripping out a few emails to them to try to get them to register. And again, these are emails that you've captured that you could do very specific marketing, or you could potentially even do, remarketing with Facebook ads and stuff like that if you wanted to. But we hope you guys are excited about this, and because I am, and I'm interested to see how you guys use it. There we go. I promised. So continuing along, automated emails are extremely important, especially the more races that you manage. So if you go into the automated emails, we have different types from being able to highlight your sponsors to incomplete registration emails, which I highly encourage. As long as your race doesn't sell out, I'll turn that on. And the registration follow-up emails, these are extremely helpful for nonprofit fundraising focused events because you can continue to tell the story and continue to plug in their fundraising URL. If you're a for-profit race, one of the other things that you can do is highlight your referral programs. So you can say, hey, you get a hoodie if you refer 5 people, or you get some sort of award for referring the most people. And you can use these drip emails to continue to do that. And again, if you have a very, very technical race where there's specific gear or requirements, registration follow-up emails can be used in a similar way to educate them about what they're getting into, as well as what gear they need to make sure they're bringing to the race. So this is probably the least interesting, most important slide. Many people will come to me with problems with emails saying, oh, your emails don't get open, or my emails don't get open anymore. And, I dig into the problem. And the most common issue is that RunSignup sends an enormous number of emails out. And guess who does not like that? The internet service providers. So the internet service providers don't like that because we're saying, hey, we're sending an email for Scott Coffee Run, but it's coming from RunSignup. So there's a domain mismatch. It's obvious that this is not who it says it is. So if you go through and the larger your email list gets, the more of a potential issue this can become. So what we recommend is doing white label domain mapping. So again, we have a blog on this. So if you're interested in that, we're going to include this, is that you have to add what's called an MX record or a mail record into your domain and map that to our server. The benefit of doing this is that we can actually send emails from your domain. And that's extremely important because when that ISP sees this is coming from the Scott Coffee Run. It's no longer coming from RunSignup. And believe it or not, the most important part about emails isn't the content or how it looks. It's actually if it gets to the person or not. Because people talk a lot about, the email needs to look like this and that and the other. And number one, if you're doing emails, test them on your phone because 70% of your emails are going to be viewed on the phone. So going crazy with images, the majority of your participants are never going to see those images. So make sure people can get the emails, then worry about what they look like. So again, if this is something that you're like, I've definitely seen a decrease in my emails, likely this is the culprit here. And so again, adding an MX record, we have a great blog post on this. If you have small email lists, I generally kind of make the dividing line is around 5,000 emails on an email list. That seems to be where the trouble starts. Because if you're doing 5,000 emails, like in the Madison market, that's actually a fair number of people to a particular ISP provider. If you are a MailChimp user, we now offer and it's been around for a little bit, is the ability to automatically sync your email addresses. So what happens is, as soon as someone registers, you'll go in and you'll map between RunSignup and MailChimp, and that will automatically drop any new email addresses into your MailChimp. So if you've got campaign follow-ups or marketing automations that you're using through MailChimp, this is a beautiful thing to go ahead and connect with it. Edit email stores. So going into how you want to make your emails look. So we try to make this super easy by making templates, but if you're a very creative person or you understand HTML, you do have the ability to go in and edit source HTML. This is not for the faint of heart. You need to really know what you're doing because you can. You actually need to do a fair amount of testing if you're going to go in and edit source code. One of the other recent releases that we did is some people may or may not be familiar with. We have replacement tags. So replacement tags make you look like a superhero because you can say hello first name and it'll plug in the person's first name. You can then pull in. We have a variety of different replacement tags. And if I remember correctly, Eric, we now have a drop-in for replacement tags that just came out.
It's going to be in the next week or two.
Yeah, not quite yet.
So basically, we're going to make it easier. Right now, it's a little challenging. You actually have to be very careful about copying the replacement tag and dropping that into your email. So for an example, like if you wanted to drop in the person's bib number or their check-in, like QR code and things like that, those are replacement tags that are in our system. We're going to make that easier to kind of make it a drop-in versus having to copy and paste the whole thing. So scheduling emails to targeted groups. One of the coolest things about the email system is the ability to build lists and target it or exclude. So you can see up on the screen here where it says current participants and add. You also have the ability to exclude. So you can do an email campaign excluding current participants and targeting new participants. And the most important thing for most people to know is that as long as the person's using the same email address, that automatically scrubs the list for you. So hopefully you're not hitting, current participants, because we all know if you hit some percentage of current participants with a marketing email, they think that they're not registered. So you're just kind of, creating more work for yourself. So that's one of the best parts about this. And this is, again, dynamic, meaning if somebody signs up for the race while you're building the email, let's say it takes you a day because you're tweaking it, that will automatically be updated for you. Oh, the other thing that's important about this is scheduling. You can actually schedule this to hit at a particular time. And if you are a big time planner, you could go through and schedule a bunch of your emails, ahead of time, so that, as we know, when you get closer to an event, it's harder to send out your race information emails and other, targeted emails. You could actually go in and schedule these ahead of time. So that's something that, we try to recommend people whenever your off season is to try to, get ahead on that. If you're a partner with RunSignup, one of the things that we offer is you can build templates at the partner level. Basically, this is managing your brand. So if you want your branding to be consistent across all of your races, you can build a partner level email template and then share that, across all of your races so that every single race has the exact same look and feel from a branding standpoint. Auto-applied coupon URLs. This is one of those kind of hidden features. So if you're doing, say, an Easter promotion, however you're doing it via email or via Facebook or maybe even both, you can go in and build a coupon code and then build a URL. So this is at the bottom of the coupon code page. It says, do you know you can send out links that automatically apply a coupon to registration? Click here to set it up. It pops open this little page. You plug in what the coupon code is. So then when you're doing promotions, the participant, all they do is click on the link. And then when they get to checkout, the coupon code has been auto-applied for them. So hopefully, again, eliminating, I saw the promo, I didn't get the promo. And you're just making that one less step for that person to automatically get that discount. Social sharing. This is really, really important if you're trying to, one of the best examples is if you've got a very large sponsor, going through and updating your social sharing. So if you are sharing or if participants are sharing the image of your race from RunSignup to the social platforms, you're controlling exactly what's going out there. So from an image and a text standpoint, if that's something that's important to your race or important to your sponsors, you can go in and upload those images in that text. It's really easy to do, but it's something that's commonly overlooked. And you got to be careful with this because if that sponsor changed and you didn't update it, they're still sharing that old image. So be careful to make sure you're going back and checking on those things. So this is our Facebook custom audiences. If you haven't used this before, essentially what we're doing is we're automatically building a CSV list of your, whatever your list might be, whether it's a CRM list or just a full participant list. And you drop that in to Facebook to either target or exclude, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And so now when you're running a Facebook ad, this is to a very targeted list. And so what we're doing is making it so you don't have to custom format that list into the format that Facebook likes. You just drop it right in and it'll start working. So this is something that was touched on a little earlier, and we did a really interesting blog post on this last week. Many of you are probably familiar with the image at the bottom, Emma J. So one of the things now is that we have a new option in there that says analytics. And so you can actually see, within reason, we can show you where these participants are coming from. So, and that's part of what's being built into the CRM now is the ability to say, hey, I did a Facebook ad with a custom link. I want to build a targeted list or a report of people that actually responded or clicked on that link. And so that's when you go to look at a participant, you not only can see what events or how much they've donated to your organization, et cetera, you can actually see where they're coming from. And that is the power. And that's why we're encouraging you guys so much to try to use our websites as much as possible, because to try to pull this off yourself, I honestly don't know if you could. Even if we were given, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, it would be difficult to pull this off. So that is the power of using a single database and a single system. Obviously, there are some drawbacks too. Your flexibility is going to be more with a Wix platform or WordPress platform. But this is the examples of hey, I really want to know, how many people are actually coming from Google, which would stun you how many people actually come from Google for your race. And actually, the closer you get to the race, the more people are coming from Google. We can also talk about how to build a list. This actually shows exactly what I was just talking about, is the ability to go in and build the list on the analytics. When you go in now to the CRM, you want to pick the profile that you're under. If you're a partner, make sure there's different options when you're building a list. You can build it from your directors list or from your login. So you need to be a little careful about that because you want to make sure you're picking that. If you're helping a client, make sure you pick the client's list. And then why am I saying that? Well, the reason is that if you pick your profile, that may include races you own. You may want to do that. You may not want to do that when you're building a list. So make sure you're picking that particular race's main director. So then when you go through, you can build the list. You can see some of the options that we have here. You can build a list on location. You can build it on loyalty, which Eric's going to go over, which is really, really cool. Probably the number one question we get for CRM. Or you can build it on analytics. So where did the participants come from? And then finally on demographics. And so once you build these lists, you can then export them into CSVs. You can share them via Facebook custom audiences or export to MailChimp. Fundraising and donations. So this is something we hope all of you that are associated with a nonprofit at least have a conversation with your nonprofit. If you sit in on some of Allison's sessions, she's going to go into greater detail of the success that we've had with Facebook. It's been really tremendous. And so this, what happens is that this is a direct connection between a RunSignup Facebook fundraiser and Facebook fundraiser. So many of you have probably seen a Facebook fundraiser. And the beauty of this is that they are connected. So if someone makes a donation on Facebook, that then correlates to their goal on RunSignup. And the other thing that's really important about this is that Facebook is going to show a Facebook fundraiser to a much larger percentage of their friends so that hopefully your fundraising goals are more attainable for your fundraisers because they're being seen by a wider audience. The other thing that's important is that we're not charging a setup fee. There's no fees for any of the donations that come directly through Facebook, and the donation processing fees through Facebook are 0.4%. So this is extremely effective, use for Facebook. This is a big promotion. Like this is a way for them to try to give back to the community. So they really want this to be successful. And the only negative that I want to point out on this is that from a nonprofit standpoint, you're not getting a donor's information if they donate directly through Facebook. This is Facebook's policy. It's not like a RunSignup thing where we can turn something on or off, but I can't stress to you enough like the amount of positive feedback that we've gotten on this. So if you're not familiar with this, definitely sit in on Allison's session on she's going to go into more detail on this. So some of the more technical things, if your event has historically had a lot of fundraising, but you're not comfortable with some of the terminology that we have, individuals or teams and things like that, we give you the ability to relabel that so that you can have something that's more in line with what you've typically done. If you prefer groups or if it was a family thing or supporters, things like that, you can change the language on this that better fits your event specifically. So this one is really neat. I would want to point this out specifically. In my mind, there's plenty of use cases for this, but like turkey trots are a great example. So turkey trots are difficult to be tremendous fundraisers. They're great to get revenue that comes in, but they're not great for fundraising because there's just so many things going on during the holidays. So if you add a charity into our system, you're going to be given the option to add a charity add-on checkbox. So this is, like if we go into a store, they have a little box where you can add in $1, when you're leaving to support some local group. The concept is exactly the same. It's just a checkbox that someone can check to add in $10 at checkout. And that's why I think it's so important for turkey trots, because again, it's difficult to get fundraisers really popping around Thanksgiving. But, hey, I enjoy the race. My family does it every single year. I'm okay with checking the box and adding $10 to my cart. So if you're looking for ways to help, your local nonprofit, I use turkey trots because that's the biggest running day of the year. This obviously could be used in other ways. So if you're a for-profit event and you have a nonprofit partner and they've struggled with getting, decent donations, this is another option that could be turned on to hopefully increase their donations again. Donation discounts. So this one's really interesting. There's actually some tax reasons for people to potentially do this as well. You can offer basically a free entry or free ticket if you get a certain donation amount. So you're saying, hey, I've got $100. I'm going to donate $100. How much as a nonprofit do they want to offer as a discount for that entry? So maybe if I donate $100, I immediately get, let's say the entry was $25, I'm getting in for free. That is the concept around that. And so it's something that I wanted to bring it up because it's a different way to potentially increase donation amounts. So Fundraiser Refunds is down this same vein. So what's neat about Fundraiser Refunds is that if you have a higher entry event, there's two ways to kind of approach this. Fundraiser Refunds means I pay the $100 to enter, and then if I fundraise, say $250 or $500, whatever the amount is you choose, then I can get a refund of some or all of my entry. We also support free entries that then they fundraise their way into an entry, meaning I paid $0 for the entry. My goal for fundraising is $250 to offset my entry. So both of those are great concepts to share with nonprofits. Again, these are a lot of times to shake up things. So if you've been doing the same thing every single year, maybe these concepts would work a little bit better as a different option for you. Import donations to fundraisers. So again, if you're a nonprofit and you've got a bunch of checks or cash that's come in, the fundraisers still want credit for that. So we give you the ability to manually type in the donations or import it from a spreadsheet and apply that to your applicable fundraiser. And if that fundraiser is tied to a team, that connects that as well. So it's a great option for, if you've got a bunch of stuff that comes in that's just not going online. And again, there's no fees for doing that. It's just, making the fundraiser happy that their goal was actually accurate and up to date. So race day technology, Bob mentioned earlier, we've made significant investments. We certainly hope that you guys enjoy some of the investments that we're making. And so we wanted to highlight some of the tools that we have. So I talked a little earlier about scheduling pre-race emails. More and more of you guys, and we're very thankful for this, are using the check-in app. And so the check-in app can create a huge amount of efficiencies with less volunteers having to work packet pickup. So if you schedule a pre-race email, say Thursday or Friday before a race on Saturday, you can include in the QR code. And then in the check-in app, you can quickly and easily scan the QR code to check that participant in. And also, if you have linked registrations pulled up, that's a great example of like creating extreme efficiency. Because what happens is then I check in Allison, so that then tells me that Bob and Marlise, they signed up together. I know to check them all in the same potential check-in process. So private expo mode, if you sit in on some of the timer sessions, we're going to be spending more time on going over some of the new race day registration. Part of this is that we need to rebrand and relabel some things around private expo mode. So private expo mode, the beauty of this is that if you have a more complex race day registration process, best example would be you still have a team competition that you want to continue on with, or you need to have relays registering. Private Expo mode allows you to use the full power of the RunSignup registration platform, but customize the specific items that you need to get from participants. So some of the deficiencies in the sign-up app or kiosk mode, if you're using some of those, is you can't necessarily do teams and things like that. So this allows you to have more power to that. Part of this too, unfortunately, is related to sales tax because it's very, very hard for us to go back and rebuild all of our technology to comply with sales tax. And we're using the main RunSignup technology now so we can stay in full compliance with sales tax. So we're going to go over this in more detail, but we definitely wanted to point this out. You have a lot of different options now, and we're going to be putting more horsepower into this tool to give you guys much more granularity into how participants are registering on race day. Also, one thing, don't knock participants registering on their phones. There is a limit to how many computers you want to buy and how many of them you want to fix and how many of them you want to set up. The more that you can encourage people to use your phones, the better. Because again, there's a whole litany of issues that come up. And believe it or not, this person is not here right now. Because if he was, I would point him out, is that we actually have a timer that has no race day registration unless you can do it on your phone now. And he's been doing it for 2 years. I'm not saying that's the perfect solution, but we are heading that direction. A phone is far more powerful than any piece of computer that really we're putting out. Most people are putting Chromebooks out, which are great, they're fine, but compared to an iPhone will crush a Chromebook every day. So they've got plenty of horsepower in their pocket. Fast registration, this is kind of related to race day registration. What I want to point out here is how many options you have for someone to register on race day. And so you can really, really, really pick down, I want first name, last name, email, age or date of birth, things like that, waiver signed, and event picked. They're registered. If you want to go to that level, you can. You also can, enable still getting emergency contact name and phone number if you wanted. So you get to decide very easily how people are registering and what information that you want to provide. There is some options in here that are mentioning mobile, date range, and fast registration URL. I generally speaking only recommend date range. It's just the easiest to understand. Pretty much never check mobile. I wish we could get rid of that. Auto show camera on bib assignment. So this is inside of our check-in app. And the reason we wanted to point this out is that if you get bibs with QR codes or barcodes printed on them, one of the biggest issues as us as humans, thumbs, they don't work that great, is when this pops up, it pops up the camera in the app. So if you slide that bib right underneath and scan it, the number one thing that we could possibly screw up is typing in that number slightly wrong. It happens, right? That's the number one complaint against, checking people in. So this is a way, and you do need to modify like how you're ordering bibs, because my understanding is that it's not necessarily standard with a lot of the bib companies to offer that. It does cost a tiny bit more. But if you really dig in the check-in app, but this is one of your kind of pet peeves, this is something that is not intuitive. Not everybody knows about it. And if you sit in on some of the timer sessions or race day technology sessions, Crisp, this is definitely something he wants to talk to, and grab Crisp. So Chris McDonald from our team, he's excellent. He actually is still a timer himself. So he understands a lot of the issues you guys are going through, and make sure that's a dialogue, like about what you like or dislike. All right, I did good on my time. Did I do good on time?
Yeah, you are 11:16, and so it's time for you to leave.
Perfect. Yes. All right. Woo!